I'm here in a Polish shtetl to tell you the story of Moishe's miracle. That's Moishe. He's a good-looking guy. He's had a lot of work done, and he's got a lovely place. This fire is so real. Moishe's miracle was written by Krauss Melmed and illustrated by David Slonim. Our story begins. Starlight, starbright, magic on a winter's night, white snow, candle glow, far away and long ago. In the poor village of Wishniak lived a milkman named Moishe and his wife, Bela. Since he owned only 2 cows, Moishe earned a meager living. Still, he was known as a generous man, always ready to help his neighbors. Bela scrubbed and cooked and tried to scrape together a few kopecks for a nice Sabbath meal. But oi, how she could scold. Everyone said she had the sharpest tongue in Wishniak and little patience for Moishe's generous ways. It was early winter, and already the wind prowled the icy lanes of the village like a starving jackal. Many were feeling the pangs of hunger. Malka the widow and her ailing son Shmuel, Heshi Fenster, out of work with his wife expecting their 13th child, frail Bubby Rivka, housebound with her calico cat. Moishe left an extra quart of milk here, a pint of thick cream there. On the night before the holiday of Hanukkah was to begin, Bela untied her knippel, the knot in her handkerchief in which she kept their money, and shook it in Moishe's face. Empty! All because of your foolish generosity. How will I buy the eggs and flour to make our Hanukkah latkes, much less the oil to fry them in? Moishe imagined coins falling from the handkerchief into Bela's pan, where they turned into golden potato pancakes. He could almost smell those latkes frying. Oh well, he thought with a sigh, we ought to be thankful for what we have. Bela, don't fret, he soothed. There are enough onions and potatoes for a nice pot of soup. But Bela would not listen. How did I end up with this schlemiel when I could have married the baker's son? On and on she scolded, hands on her hips and eyes rolled heavenward, until Moishe fled to the cowshed for some peace. He flopped down on the straw. How sleepy he felt. Moishe, Moishe. The milkman sat up suddenly. Rubbing his eyes, he looked around to see who was calling him. Imagine his astonishment when he found that it was one of his cows. You have always cared well for us, Moishe. You keep our shed clean, milk us on time, and feed us plenty. Most assuredly, chimed in the other cow. So although we seldom reveal to humans our power to speak, we want to help you, dear Moishe. While you were sleeping here tonight, the first cow went on, a stranger came to the shed. For hours he entertained us with tales of magic and adventure. But before leaving, he had a gift for you, there, under the straw. For me? Moishe reached down and felt something cold and hard. An old pan? He tried not to show his disappointment. But such a pan, exclaimed the second cow. According to the stranger, you have only to set it upon the fire totally empty, and it will produce as many delicious Hanukkah latkes as you wish. Latkes by the dozens, latkes by the hundreds will appear until you remove the pan from the stove. Just remember the stranger's warning. To Moishe this gift was given, and only Moishe must use it. Moishe was overjoyed. That evening, Moishe and Bela lit the first Hanukkah candle with the shamas, the candle used to light the others. Then Moishe told Bela all that happened in the cowshed, being careful to repeat the stranger's warning. Of course, Bela believed not a word of Moishe's story. I've never heard anything so much sugar in all my life, she scoffed. A pan is a pan. Nevertheless, Moishe placed the pan over the fire. A lively sizzle filled the air. Soon the rich aroma of potatoes and onions frying made Moishe's nose twitch and Bela's mouth water. And then there were latkes, plump as little pillows, with edges like golden lace. The latkes were so light they floated right into the air as they finished cooking. Bela and Moishe leaped about the kitchen, catching them. When each had a plateful, Moishe removed the pan from the fire. Then he and Bela ate their fill and went to bed. How Moishe tossed and turned that night, twisting the coverlet into knots. Perhaps he had eaten too many latkes. In his dreams, he saw Shmuel and Bubby Rivka, the calico cat and the Fenster brood. They marched around his bed, holding empty plates and staring at him with hungry eyes. The next morning, Moishe left a note on every doorstep. Happy Hanukkah! Please come for latkes tonight at Moishe the Milkman's. It seemed that all of Wishniak squeezed into Moishe and Bela's little house that night. Latkes galore sailed from the magic pan. There was singing and dancing to Heshi's accordion, and the children spun dreidels, little Hanukkah tops. Only Bela stood apart, shaking her head. Moishe was giving things away as usual and making a mess of her house. If she could just get rid of him for a while, she would take matters into her own hands. The next day, Bela hid the Hanukkah candles under the bed. "Moishe, there are 6 more days of Hanukkah left, and all our candles are gone," she wailed. Then she sent him off to borrow some from her sister in the next village, hours away. As soon as the door banged shut, Bela hung a sign in the window. "Bela's Cafe. Luscious latkes. 1 kopek each." She took down the magic pan. Of course, she remembered the stranger's warning. To Moishe this gift was given, and only Moishe must use it. But why shouldn't the magic work for her, too? After all, she was his wife. Bela placed the pan over the fire. The sizzling sound started and grew louder. But instead of the perfume of frying latkes, a burning odor filled the kitchen. Bela pushed the pan away from the flame as a plume of smoke uncoiled like a gray serpent. Dipping up some water, she flung it into the pan. Hiss! The water splattered everywhere. Before she could blink, each droplet changed into a hairy little demon with pointy ears and a forked tail. They danced around and around, giggling and pelting Bela with burnt latkes, and they shook empty handkerchiefs in her face. Bela spun this way and that until she was dizzy, but she could not escape them. Just as she swooned to the floor, the door opened. In blew Moishe on a cold draft. He was followed by Wishniak's own rabbi and his wife, the Rebbitzin, whom Moishe had chanced to meet on his way out of town. It was the Rebbitzin who sold candles to the villagers, and she had kindly given Moishe the candles he needed. Moishe, in turn, had invited the couple home for latkes. The demons took one look at the rabbi, shrieked in terror, jumped back into the pan, and vanished in a belch of smoke. Bela revived after a whiff of the Rebbitzin's smelling salts. For the first time ever, she had nothing to say. The demons had scared her speechless. Forever grateful to Moishe for saving her, Bela took time from her housework to help with the milking. She fed the cows and cleaned the shed. With his newfound love of cooking and entertaining, Moishe prepared meals and cared for the house. By the end of Hanukkah, Bela found that she could speak again, in a voice so kind that even the cows conversed with her. From then on, Moishe and Bela were seen delivering the milk together. As for the magic frying pan, even back in Moishe's hands it refused to make another pancake, so it was sealed in a display case in the rabbi's courtyard. But the fame of its latkes and the tale of its demons spread, and soon folks were traveling to Wishniak from far and wide. Everyone hoped to see the demons under glass making a surprise appearance. And sometimes they did. The visitors needed food and lodging, heels for their boots and hay for their horses. Soon the village grew into a bustling market town where no one went hungry. And for years to come, even on the coldest Hanukkah night, candles burned brightly in the windows, and the smell of frying latkes rose over the houses in a golden haze that seemed to reach the stars. Snow on the rooftops, milk in the pail. That is the end of this Hanukkah tale.